What is up, guys? It's Tony here, and today we're doing a quick little critique of the iPhone 5's camera. We're basically going to be looking at some photos I took. I got some not so good ones, as you can see here, and I've got some really incredible images just to show you guys and basically just show what's going on with the performance of this camera. So first off, we're taking a look here at the flash. This is an image I took basically blind, and I just took a photo with the flash. I'm not a big fan of flashes, and this is why. You can see the shadowing from the actual camera's strap here. And really, I just don't like how that happens with the flash. But of course, when you're doing more professional flash setups, you don't have to worry about that because you can do backlighting. But with the phone's flash, I mean, even though they did this dual flash thing, you're still going to get the general qualms of a flash, and the really bad parts and elements of the flash. I adjusted the exposure a little bit. It was very bright at first, so bring it into Lightroom, bring it into maybe even iPhoto, and just darken it a bit, and you'll get much better clarity. This didn't focus exactly how I wanted it to. I think I was moving the camera a bit. But one thing I want to show you guys, and I know this isn't a good pose here, but the skin tones, this is pretty much my skin tone. I mean, this looks like it wasn't taken with a flash in terms of the skin tones. So I would say that the flash does do a good job with skin tones. I'd have to look into it more, but from what I've seen, it looks very good with the skin tones. But you got to keep in mind it is a phone flash, so you're not going to get the best quality all the time. Next up, we have an image here that's basically just a simple low light. I know it looks very bright here, but this is very low light. The only light in this room was coming from behind these curtains, and it was very dark when I was looking at it with the naked eye. But because of the smaller aperture, or well, the wider aperture, and because of the larger pixels on the sensor, you're going to get a lot better lighting. And another thing about the aperture is now you can see the depth of field. When I took this same photo with my iPhone 5, I wish I could do a comparison, but I actually got rid of my iPhone 5. Or actually, it's dead. I didn't get rid of it yet, but I'm getting rid of it. But it's dead right now in a box. But yeah, when I took this picture, the depth of field did not start to show up on the bed. Basically, on the bed, you saw relatively sharp all the way through. And I know 2.4 and 2.2 aren't much of a difference in terms of aperture, but on a small lens like this, it could make a big difference. Really, the sharpness isn't that great. It's a little bit grainy if you zoom in here a bit, and the reason why is probably because I'm indoors and probably because I was moving a little bit. But overall, it is pretty good. I would take this over most photos I've taken in the past. Now here's a good image. Here's a really good image. Boom. Wow, it's zoomed in really awkwardly. This is an image that I took outside in midday, pretty harsh light, and boy, this image has a story and a half to tell. This thing has a lot of very interesting stuff going on. So the first thing is, look at this sharpness. I mean, I'm zoomed in pretty far, like right here. This is zoomed in pretty far. I mean, if I crop this image, I mean, that is extremely sharp. You can really see the detail on the paints. You could see all the little imperfections of the paint, the cracking. You could see the rusting. You could see all of the detail really throughout this this metal bar here on the fence. That is incredible, the sharpness on this thing. And I'm guessing partially it's because of the larger pixels on the sensor. With the iPhone 5, I never could zoom in this far and get this much detail. So that is a huge deal for people who really care about photography. And then another thing I want to talk about is the bokeh. You actually get some very nice round bokeh in the background. You can see it across the palm tree here. You can see a little bit of it glimmering off of the palm tree leaves, and you can also see it on the palm tree's leaves back here. The isolation is incredible. On some images, you literally just can't tell what's going on in the background, and that's what you want with a wide aperture. You want that isolation, especially when you're doing portrait photography. This is an incredible photo for an iPhone. I mean, just the fact that this is taken on an iPhone really blows my mind. And of course, with some post-processing, you can really take this photo to the next level. So, this is an incredible image. This is an image that probably will go into, not a photography album of mine, but it probably will be used in an album in succession with a DSLR if I took this at a photo shoot of some sort. So this is a really good photo to show the quality of this camera, for sure. Now here's another one that I took, which was really not... I was trying to get some bokeh off of the leaves, And you know what? You get a bit of bokeh. One thing I'm going to tell you really quick is that you're going to notice this kind of blurring mesh. It kind of looks like it was painted in a way. That's because it's a smaller sensor. Even though the pixels were enlarged slightly, when you try to cram a lot of pixels onto a small sensor, you tend to get a lot of that like blurry, mushed, color. That's going to happen on any camera. Honestly, that's even mirrorless cameras that are like $500. But you can see some pretty good sharpness once again on this pot here. Very good sharpness actually, all around. And you can also see the depth of field coming into effect. Over here it's a little bit blurry, and even at the edge of the pot it's getting a little bit blurry. So there is some very nice depth of field on this lens. And the bokeh is pretty nice. I mean, if you look at the iPhone 5, there's almost no bokeh. I mean, on this type of image, the f2.2 does that little extra bit that allows you to get some pretty decent bokeh. And if you look at it, they're relatively round. If you look at the last one real quick, let's go to that. Whoops, very zoomed in. It's relatively round, and overall the shape is nice on the bokeh. There's no like, octagonal shapes or anything like that. But the one thing is that it's a little bit like mushy and a little bit weird, which can be seen as bad. But personally, I like it. Now here's just a little low light on the toaster. Sort of just, high light, high contrast, HDR type of photo. HDR is still doing good. I mean, if this was taken without HDR, this would have all been white, literally white. So the HDR at least allowed me to capture some of what's going on outside. You can actually see some bokeh over here and some over here. Very nice isolation. And this is another great photo for showing depth of field. You can see this is all sharp here, but here it's out of focus, and here it's out of focus. And this is probably about 4 or 5 inches at most. So you're talking about 3 or 4 inches. Well, I'd say a little bit more than that. Maybe like 5 inches of sharpness forward to back. Maybe at most a foot. And also, by the way, it's very good at doing macro, very close-up photography. It focuses extremely close, but I think it's about the same as the other iPhones. Now here's an interesting photo where I was just trying to get some bokeh. I was really trying to focus on that because that's a huge feature that you're going to really see advantages from with the aperture, that and the lighting. The lighting in here was, once again, a little bit dim, but it did get some extremely great sharpness here. Look at this sharpness. You can definitely see a lot of detail here on this couch. This is a leather couch. It's a pretty normal, typical shot. Now here's a shot where I was just literally trying to get some sharpness, some detail. I think the focus was a little bit off, and I think I moved the camera a little bit. But you do see some bokeh here, and this is some really defining bokeh. This shows you the type of bokeh pattern that you're going to get with this phone. So for those who care, it's kind of like an eyeball pattern. It's kind of weird. There's like a nice oval shape, so it's not a perfect circle, and then you kind of get like this like weird like blurring circle with a dot in the middle. And that's something you're going to see on a lot of the bokeh. It's hard to see here, but it does the same thing. There's kind of like an oval and there's like a dot. Some of them don't have it as much. It's not as clear. But on most of these photos, you can sort of see what I'm talking about. Maybe not in this one. So that's kind of the type of bokeh you're going to get with it if you're just wondering. And last but not least, this is a very interesting photo. Now, I wish I had the iPhone 5 photo to tell the story. You got to take my word for it. But this photo was taken in, I can't even explain how dark this room is. This room is literally to the point, it's so dark that I couldn't walk through this without falling. I wouldn't be able to see all these baskets. This is the laundry room. Imagine a laundry room inside of a hallway that bends where there's not much light coming in, and then it's under the staircase, because this is pretty much under the staircase. This is a very dark room. It's hard to see anything in here. And I took a photo with the iPhone 5, and I got to admit, the iPhone 5 did pretty well. It brightened it up a little bit. I could see a little bit better on the iPhone 5 than with my eyes myself. But boy, this is extremely bright for a camera phone. I mean, this is a type of situation where you would need to use the flash, and guess what? The aperture being a little bit wider and the size of the pixels on the sensor helped out immensely, especially compared to the iPhone 5. And I could only imagine that it's better than the iPhone 4S and the 4. So I mean, if you're gonna do a lot of low light photography, I was a little bit skeptical about how much the aperture would help, but it really does help a lot. So this is basically, the photos that I've taken so far. I'm definitely going to take more in the future. If you want to see more photos from the iPhone 5S, I'll be doing some photo albums on my website. You can go check those out. There's a link in the description, and I'll probably post some links to those and videos in the future. But man, these are really good photos. These are really nice sharpness and image quality. I mean, if you know how to use it properly, like this shot right here was really just thinking about the shot. You can get some really nice shots with this thing, and it's almost comparable to some of the higher end DSLRs. Well, not higher end DSLRs, higher end cameras, maybe lower end DSLRs, because you can really just get some great depth of field and isolation, and the lighting is just gorgeous in terms of indoor lighting. So that is pretty much it. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this in the future, go ahead and like and comment and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.